Before you scroll past this video, I need you to stop for just 1 second. Because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes is something that most people will go their entire lives never understanding about themselves. And if you've ever felt like you were born for something greater, like there's a purpose pulling at your chest that you can't quite name, then this message is not a coincidence. You finding this video right now is not an accident. So please, before we go any further, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the content on this channel is going to keep unlocking things inside of you that the world has been trying to keep quiet. Now let's get into it. Did you know that throughout history, in nearly every culture, every civilization, every sacred text ever written, there is one recurring theme that refuses to disappear? One idea that keeps showing up no matter how many centuries pass, no matter how many empires rise and fall, no matter how many times people try to explain it away with logic or science or convenience. That idea is this, that God deliberately selects certain people, not by accident, not randomly, but with intention, with precision, and with a plan so specific that it accounts for every single detail of their lives, including the hard parts, especially the hard parts. Now I know what some of you are already thinking. You're thinking, that's not me? I'm not special. I haven't done anything remarkable. My life has been full of struggle and confusion and pain. And I want you to hold that thought, because by the time this video is over, you are going to understand that everything you just described, the struggle, the confusion, the pain, that is not evidence against your calling. That is the evidence of it. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a seed. You plant it in the ground, and for weeks, nothing happens. The surface of the earth looks completely undisturbed. To anyone walking by, nothing is going on, nothing special, just dirt. But underneath that surface, something extraordinary is happening. The seed is breaking open, it's pushing roots downward. It's building the foundation for something that will one day stand taller than anything around it. And here's the thing, that breaking process, that is not failure. That is preparation. And the chosen one never looks chosen while they're still underground. That is the truth God has been trying to speak over your life. That is the silence He is finally breaking. And I need you to hear it clearly. You were not placed on this earth to live a small, quiet, unnoticed life. You were placed here with a divine assignment. And the fact that you've been feeling restless, feeling like something is coming, feeling like you're on the edge of something you can't fully see yet, that feeling is not anxiety. That feeling is activation. Now let's talk about what it actually means to be chosen, because I think the church has given us a very incomplete picture. We hear the word chosen, and we immediately think of Moses parting the Red Sea, or David slaying Goliath, or Paul writing half the New Testament. We think chosen means walking around with glowing skin and a supernatural peace about you at all times. We think it means everything goes smoothly, doors open effortlessly, and people recognize your greatness immediately. But that is not what the Bible actually shows us. That is not what history shows us. That is not what any authentic spiritual tradition shows us. What they actually show us is this: the chosen ones are the ones who go through the fire first. Every single one of them. Joseph wasn't placed on the throne without first being thrown in the pit. He was betrayed by his own brothers. He was falsely accused. He sat in a prison cell for years with nothing but his faith and his dreams. And here is what I want you to understand about Joseph. At no point during those years in the pit, at no point during that time in prison, did the calling on his life pause. The assignment didn't go on hold while he suffered. The preparation was happening inside the suffering. God was not absent from Joseph's pain. God was actively working through it. And I'm speaking to someone right now who has been in their own version of that prison. Maybe it's not a literal prison. Maybe it's a season of isolation where it feels like the people you thought would be by your side have disappeared. Maybe it's a season of financial pressure so heavy that you wake up in the middle of the night and your mind immediately starts racing. Maybe it's a season where your health has been shaken, or your family is in chaos, or a relationship that you thought was forever has crumbled. And you've been asking God, why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? When is this going to end? And God's answer? The answer He is breaking His silence to give you right now. is this: you are not being punished. You are being prepared. The weight you are carrying is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It is a sign that He trusts you with it. Because the size of the battle always corresponds to the size of the assignment. You don't give a soldier who's only meant to guard a doorway the same training as a general who's meant to lead armies. God does not put the level of fire on you that He has allowed unless He has already determined that you can come out of it refined, not destroyed. I want you to think about gold for a moment. Raw gold, when it comes out of the earth, is full of impurities. It doesn't look like the gold you see in jewelry stores. It looks rough and dull and unimpressive. And to get it to that place of pure, brilliant, undeniable beauty, it has to be put in a furnace. The heat has to be turned all the way up. And what happens in that furnace is that everything that is not gold, every impurity, every piece of debris, every layer of junk that attached itself to the gold during its time underground, all of it rises to the surface and gets skimmed off. And what's left is pure. What's left is the real thing. What's left is what was always there, just waiting to be revealed. That is what God is doing in your life right now. The furnace you are in is not His rejection of you. It is His refining of you. He is skimming off every false identity you picked up, every lie you believed about yourself, every layer of fear, every unhealthy attachment, every version of you that was built on approval from other people rather than on the truth of who He says you are. He is burning all of it away so that what's left, what stands, is the pure, authentic, powerful person He designed before the foundation of the world. And here is where it gets really important, because I need to address something that I think is keeping a lot of chosen people from stepping into what's theirs. And that is the spirit of unworthiness. This is one of the enemy's most effective weapons, and it works because it sounds so humble. It sounds so reasonable. It sounds like you're just being realistic about yourself. It shows up as thoughts like, who am I to think God has something great for me? I've made too many mistakes. I've gone too far. I've wasted too much time. Other people are more qualified, more gifted, more consistent, more faithful. And on the surface, those thoughts feel like honesty. But they are not honesty. They are a trap. Because here is the truth. The calling of God is not based on your performance. It is based on His purpose. And His purpose was set before you took your first breath, before you made your first mistake, before you went through that season you're ashamed of, before all of it. The scripture says it plainly. He knew you before He formed you in the womb. He set you apart before you were born. That is not language describing someone who God is deciding about as He watches them live their life. That is language describing a decision that was already made in eternity, and your job is simply to come into alignment with it. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not disqualified. If you are still breathing, the assignment is still active. Now I want to shift and talk about the signs. Because if you're watching this video, there's a very good chance that you have been experiencing some specific things that you maybe haven't fully known how to interpret. And I want to walk through them with you, because God speaks, and He speaks consistently, and once you know what to listen for, you will never mishear Him again. The first sign is a persistent sense that you are different, not in an arrogant way. Actually, for most chosen people, it feels more like a burden than a blessing at first. It's the feeling of not quite fitting in, even in rooms full of people who should feel like your people. It's a loneliness that doesn't go away even when you're surrounded. And for years, maybe you interpreted that as something being wrong with you. But I want to reframe that for you today. That feeling of separateness is not a defect. It is a divine distinction. God has set you apart, which by definition means you cannot fully belong to what you've been set apart from. The very thing that has made you feel like an outsider your whole life is actually the marker of your assignment. The second sign is that you dream big in a way that almost embarrasses you. You have visions for your life that feel so large, so out of reach, that you've learned to keep them quiet, because every time you've shared them, people have looked at you like you're naive. And over time, maybe you started to agree with them. Maybe you started to shrink the dream down to something more realistic. But I need you to hear this. The dream did not come from you. The vision that keeps showing up in your heart The one that won't die no matter how many times life tries to bury it. That is the signature of your calling. God plants the vision in you as a preview of what He has already prepared. The dream is not wishful thinking. The dream is a prophecy. The third sign, and this one is powerful, is that you have survived things you should not have survived. Look back at your life for a moment. There were moments where it could have gone completely differently. Moments where something should have broken you and didn't. Moments where you were in the wrong place at the wrong time and somehow got through it. Moments where circumstances aligned in a way that had no logical explanation. You've probably called it luck or coincidence. But there is no such thing as coincidence in the life of a chosen person. Every close call was a covered call. Every time you barely made it through was God saying, "Not yet. I still need you here. The assignment is not complete." And the fourth sign is this: the warfare in your life has been unusually intense. Because here is what people don't talk about enough. The enemy does not waste his resources on people who pose no threat to him. He doesn't launch heavy attacks at people who are going to live small, comfortable, unimpactful lives. He reserves his most sophisticated strategies for the ones who, if they ever fully step into their calling, will dismantle what he has built. The level of opposition you have faced is actually a revelation of the level of impact you carry. Every attack was a misdirected confirmation of your assignment. So where does this leave you? Right here, right now, in this moment, with all of this landing on you. What do you do with it? You receive it. That's the first thing. You open your hands and your heart, and you receive what God is saying over you, even if every voice of doubt in your mind is screaming that it isn't true. You receive it by faith, which means you choose to believe it before you see the evidence. Because that is how the chosen ones have always operated.